These three true horror stories are so disturbing, people still talk about them to this day. Late at night, on forgotten message boards and deep web threads, these tales keep coming back, creeping into your feed, haunting your dreams, refusing to die. Some say they're urban legends, others swear they're real. Tonight, you decide. Turn off the lights, put your phone face down, and listen closely. Because these are the three real horror stories that still haunt the internet. First, a man who vanished behind the walls of an old house, yet was never truly gone. Second, a missing girl's phone that kept calling her mother long after she was buried. And third, the cursed file is so disturbing that anyone who opens it never sleeps the same again. Let's begin with the first tale, the man in the walls. They thought they heard rats. What they found was something much worse. It started the first night Marcus moved into the old townhouse on 17th Street. He wasn't worried about creaks or groans. The building was over 100 years old. Everyone said old houses made sounds when they settled. But by the third night, Marcus realized this wasn't just wood settling. It was around 2 a.m. He'd just gotten into bed when he heard scratching behind the headboard, like tiny claws on drywall. He smacked the wall. Silence. He rolled over, told himself it was a rat, maybe a raccoon in the crawl space. But then he heard it again. Soft scraping, then a low thud, like something shifting its weight. He lay awake, straining to listen. He thought about the stories he'd heard from neighbors, how the last tenant left suddenly, how no one stayed long. He tried to laugh it off, but sleep didn't come easy that night. The next morning, Marcus called an exterminator. The guy showed up, poked around the attic, basement, even opened a few wall panels. He found nothing. No droppings, no holes, no nests. Old house noises, he said. Could be pipes. But Marcus knew pipes didn't breathe. A week later, the noises got louder. Scratching turned into dragging. Sometimes, when Marcus pressed his ear to the wall, he swore he could hear faint whispers. So faint, he couldn't catch words. He told his friends, but they laughed. It's just an old house, man. Get a cat. One night, curiosity got him. He got out of bed, grabbed a flashlight, and knocked on the wall. He knocked 3 times. To his horror, he heard 3 knocks back, slow, deliberate. He stumbled back, heart hammering. Was someone playing a prank? The next day, Marcus started pulling the wallpaper away from the section where he'd heard the knocks. Underneath, he found an old vent, painted shut decades ago. He pried it open. Cold air hit his face. He peered inside, shining the flashlight through the narrow gap. At first, all he saw was insulation and wood framing. Then his light caught something pale, pressed tight between beams. It was a face, eyes wide open, unblinking, staring back. For a moment, Marcus froze, light shaking in his hand. The face didn't move. Then the eyes blinked. Marcus fell backward, dropping the flashlight. He scrambled to his feet and ran outside, gasping in the cold night air. He called the police, trying to explain what he'd seen. But when they came, they found nothing. The crawl space was empty. The walls were solid. No sign of forced entry, no footprints, nothing. Marcus tried to move out the next day, but it was too late. That night, as he packed boxes in his bedroom, he felt cold air again. He turned. The vent was open, and standing half inside the wall cavity was a man, filthy, thin, eyes wide and wild, his lips cracked into a grin. The man whispered, "Don't leave me here alone." Neighbors later said Marcus never made it out. When they found the house abandoned weeks later, the vent was sealed again, and behind the wall they found scratch marks, long, deep grooves in the wood framing. No one talks about what else they found back there. They say if you stand outside that old townhouse at night, you can still hear knocking from inside the walls. 3 knocks, then silence. If you think that's unsettling, wait until you hear about the phone that wouldn't stop ringing, even after its owner was dead. The second story is about grief, obsession, and a phone call that should never have been answered. Claire lost her daughter Lily in the winter of 2018. It was a car crash. A drunk driver ran a red light. Lily was only 19. After the funeral, Claire kept Lily's old phone on her nightstand, plugged in and fully charged. She couldn't bear to shut it off. It was her last connection. 2 weeks after the funeral, Claire was sitting alone in the kitchen when she heard it, Lily's ringtone. A soft chime, echoing from the bedroom. At first, she thought she was imagining it, but there it was again. The phone was ringing. She ran to the bedroom. The screen lit up. Lily calling. She almost dropped it. Her hands shook as she swiped to answer, but there was nothing, just static. Then a whisper so faint she couldn't make out the words. Then the call ended. She checked the call log. Sure enough, Lily, incoming call. The number was Lily's own. Claire called the carrier, but they said the line was disconnected after the accident. They blamed it on a glitch. Over the next few nights, the calls kept coming, always at 2:13 a.m., the exact time of the crash. Claire stopped answering after the third time. She just lay in bed, listening to the ringtone echo down the hall. Sometimes she heard breathing on the other end. Sometimes she thought she heard Lily crying. Claire's sister begged her to throw the phone away. "It's messing with your head," she said. But Claire couldn't. In her grief, she started to believe maybe Lily was trapped. Maybe she needed help to move on. One night, instead of answering, Claire let the call go to voicemail. The next morning, she listened. It was Lily's voice, clear, unmistakable. "Mom, please don't let him in." Static swallowed the rest. Claire didn't know what it meant. She lived alone. There was no one to let in. But the next night, the phone rang again. Same time. This time, Claire answered. "Lily? Baby, it's Mom. Who shouldn't I let in?" She waited. The voice came back, broken up by static. "He's in the house." Click. Claire froze. She scanned the room. Empty. She crept to the hallway. Every floorboard creaked. The house was silent. Too silent. Then she heard a door close, far down the hall. She grabbed a lamp for protection, inching forward. The basement door was ajar. She swore she'd shut it. Slowly, she pushed it open. A rush of cold air hit her. At the bottom of the steps, half hidden in the darkness, she saw him. A man in filthy clothes crouched at the foot of the stairs. He stared up at her, grinning wide. Claire slammed the door and called the police, barricading herself in her bedroom. She clutched Lily's phone to her chest. It rang one last time. She answered. Lily's voice. "Goodbye, Mom." Then silence. When the police arrived, they found Claire trembling, the basement empty, but footprints in the dust proved she hadn't imagined it. They never caught the man. They never figured out how the phone rang from a dead girl's number. Claire still keeps Lily's phone in a drawer. Battery dead, screen cracked. But sometimes, when the house is quiet, she swears she hears it vibrating, long after the service was shut off. 2 stories down, 1 more to go. If you thought that was chilling, wait until you hear about the cursed file that no one can delete. A piece of forbidden footage that's ruined lives across the internet. The last story is about something buried deep online. A file so disturbing it's said to drive people insane, ruin their lives, and steal their sleep forever. Some people say it's just an urban legend, but if it is, why has no one ever traced where it came from? It started with a user named ShadowGrin92. He posted on an old horror forum back in 2011. He claimed he found an encrypted video file buried in a folder on a second-hand laptop he bought from an estate sale. The file was named simply "Do Not Open MP4." At first, people thought he was trolling, another creepypasta. But ShadowGrin92 uploaded screenshots. The file size was only 237 megabytes, but he said it wouldn't delete. Every time he tried, the file would reappear the next time he booted up. Late one night, curiosity won. He played it. The screen flickered black for 10 seconds. Then blurry footage appeared. A shaky camera view of an abandoned hallway, a flickering light bulb. No sound except a faint humming, like static and whispering mixed together. He said he felt watched, not by whoever filmed it, but by the video itself. ShadowGrin92 posted updates over the next few days. He said he couldn't sleep. He heard the humming even when the laptop was off. His friends said he looked pale, hollow-eyed. Then he claimed he'd woken up with scratches down his arms, like nails, but he lived alone. Against all warnings, people begged him to upload the file. He finally did. A single download link. Dozens of forum users grabbed it before the moderators took the thread down. Most accounts went silent afterward, never posting again. Some resurfaced under new usernames, but they wrote the same thing over and over. I see it when I close my eyes. Years passed. The file kept popping up on shady file-sharing sites, always named something slightly different. DoNotWatch.mp4, HollowEyes.mkv, CursedFootage.avi. Each time it surfaces, rumors swirl. The file can't be deleted. If you watch it, you see the hallway in your dreams. Some say if you watch it all the way through, you don't wake up the same. One Redditor posted last year that they'd found it again on a torrent site, buried inside a folder with random junk videos. Out of morbid curiosity, they clicked play. Same hallway, same flickering bulb, same humming. But this time, halfway through the footage, the camera turned and pointed straight at them, through the screen. They shut their laptop, yanked the battery, and threw it out. But they swear that when they lay in bed that night, they heard humming outside their window. And when they opened their eyes, just for a second, they saw that same hallway behind their eyelids. No one knows who made it, why it exists, or if it's even real. But next time you're up late, browsing dark corners of the web, and you see a tiny file named DoNotOpen.mp4, maybe think twice. Some things are meant to stay hidden. 3 stories. One about the man in the walls, one about a phone that wouldn't stop ringing, and one about a cursed file you should never download. Some say they're legends. Some swear they're real. The only question is, which do you believe? So, which of these true horror stories still haunts you tonight? Is it the man in the walls? The phone that wouldn't stop ringing? Or the cursed file you should never, ever open? Tell me in the comments which story gave you chills, or share your own creepy experience. You never know, your tale might be the next one we tell here. If you love dark true horror, make sure you hit that like button. It lets me know you're brave enough for more. Subscribe and turn on notifications because I drop new horror stories every week, each one darker than the last. You don't want to miss what's coming next. Now, check your walls, silence your phone, and whatever you do, if you see a strange file on your desktop tonight, don't open it.